district staff, August present today too. The time is 5 p.m. on October 2nd, 2023, and I call this board workshop meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board to order. I'm sorry, 5:04. The time is 5:04 on October 2nd, 2023. Roll call. Dr. James Hernandez will not be joining us today. Mr. Joseph Guerra.
Present.
Mr. Frank Espinosa is on his way from work. Mr. Luis Gomez. Present. Mr. Michael Valdez. Mr. Santoyo will not be able to join us today. With that, we have a quorum. Marcia Castillo also present. Let the record show that a quorum of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. If you will please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and Texas flag, and then a moment of silence. Do we have any communication from citizens?
Madam President, we do not have any communication from citizens.
Dr. Eduardo Hernandez, do you have a report for us?
I do, ma'am.
You have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Joey. So I'd like to welcome everybody to our October 2nd board workshop. This is our workshop for this month's regular board meeting. Before I start my presentation, I do want to let the group know that we are going to have a little bit of a break, about 5 minutes in between our presentations between Mr. Chavez's group and Ms. Martinez's group. We do have 3 birthdays this month that we are going to celebrate. Coincidentally, October 13th, we have 2 birthdays. We have Mr. Valdez, his birthday. We have Mr. Guerra's birthday, Mr. Valdez on the 13th. It's actually the same day as my daughter, big coincidence. I know. And then October 22nd is also the birthday for Mr. Espinosa. He's not here yet, but he'll be getting here soon. So we are going to take a little bit of a break, and we do have cake for later like we do every month. So that will be in a little bit. I do want to start our board workshop this evening by highlighting just some of our programming in our schools. You'll recognize this picture as one of our Fine Arts Academy students. As always, we do try to highlight our students as many ways as possible. So I do want to elevate the quality programming that we do have at our Fine Arts High School. If you didn't know it, this is also Happy National Principals Month. Thank you to Amelia for also remembering this is our, I guess, spooky month of the year. And so she did use all those graphics. But I do want to highlight all the men and women who serve as principals in our schools. We know research tells us that there are 2 very important factors in the school day of a student. It is the teacher. That's the first one, has the most compelling effect on students. And the second is the quality of the principals that we have in our schools. To that effect, that is why our school district joined the H.E.B. Holdsworth Foundation. Maybe you'll see some pictures a little later. But we're working as a district to develop our leadership definition. And what does leadership mean to a school district like Edgewood ISD? So if you run into any of our leaders, by all means, please thank them for the work they do. We are going to be highlighting them from the superintendent's office and then, of course, the Office of School Leadership. We'll be doing things then throughout the month of October. So, again, these are our principals. Today is also National Custodian Appreciation Day. I apologize that's backwards there. But it is National Custodian Appreciation Day. These are all of our head custodians in the district. These are obviously not all our custodians. But this was, I believe, about a month and a half ago. I had an opportunity to come and speak to the head custodians of the district. I do that at least once a semester. And just visit with them. These are all the fine quality men and women that we have that are leading our schools. And of course, that falls along the lines of what we always talk about. work that they're doing in our schools, because, again, it takes everybody in the school to make the school work. I also want to elevate the upcoming community meetings that we're going to have as part of the redesign work that we're doing in the district. These are brand new. I want to thank Gloria Nino, my secretary, for creating these. We always want to give credit where credit is due. But we'll have our John F. Kennedy meeting on October 19th at 5:30. We'll have our community meeting for the Fine Arts Academy on October 20th at 5:30. And then we will also be having our community meeting on the 23rd for Memorial High School. Of course, these are all pictures of our kiddos. So again, any opportunity you get to highlight the kids, you want to take it, right? I also want to go ahead and drop a plug in for our market day, our first ever market day. That is being put together by our PR department, I believe, and a group of other folks. That is going to be on South Central Day. South Central is going to be on the November the 3rd. But the market day will happen throughout the day. I don't remember the time.
Starts at 3 o'clock.
Starts at 3 o'clock. And so this will be an opportunity for members of our school district to showcase the products that they actually sell out in the community. And so if you can, please stop by and support the work of our folks, because that's always a good thing to do. This will be our first annual one, so bear with us, because it'll be the first time that we actually do this. But also come to South Central that evening too. Okay. And so tonight you're going to start hearing about our presentation with regards to the items that are being brought up to the board for your approval this month. Our October meeting is going to be October 24th. That is not for 3 more weeks. Why is that? Because we do have an intercession week that starts next week. Monday is Indigenous People Day. It used to be called Christopher Columbus Day. The school district is closed on Monday, and then the other 4 days are intercession week. So we have a lot of employees who are off, and then of course we do bring in students who need additional support academically. And so we are off next week, and then we restart again on the 16th. And so that's why we don't have our meeting until October 24th this year. So we wanted to put that out there. And so we will start with our presentation from our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Phil Chavez and his team. This is a recent picture of Mr. Chavez when we went out to LBJ to present on the Rethink or Redesign meetings that I was doing with the schools. And so, Mr. Chavez, I will turn it over to you at this point. Yes, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam President, colleagues, and members of the staff and community. Today we come to you with our leadership board presentation. Today we're just okay. That's a different presentation.
Just switched it up.
Yes, sir. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Today, the team that's going to be presenting today is myself, Dr. Masuko, and Dr. Matkins for today's presentation. We're also going to have, as we added this today or this afternoon, Mr. David Abundis, who's our Federal Programs Director, and he'll be joining us for a Plan for Learning session. Of course, we have our board mission and our vision and our outcome that always leads our direction, always leads our meetings. And of course, we have here our strategic goals with our North Star goal and goals 1 through 6 of our strategic plan. And of course, our Vision 2028, which includes our mission, vision, outcome, and board superintendent priorities. Those 5 priorities that we continue to use in conjunction with our 6 goals. As we go through tonight, our intended learning outcomes is looking at our Lone Star Governance monthly report for October 2023, our Lone Star Governance quarterly progress tracker for quarter 27, and our frontline education pre-kindergarten report card. We're going to request from the board that we purchase this for this year and the next subsequent year. It's a one-time purchase. And Dr. Basuka will come to us and present our district improvement plan, and we're going to finalize that with Dr. Matkins, who's going to present the campus improvement plans. Again, for the last 2, for our improvement plans, we utilize 806 Technologies Plan for Learning. And of course, prior to us jumping into those 2 areas, Mr. David Abundis is going to lead the board on how to access those particular reports. So our Lone Star Governance monthly monitoring report for October 2023. Our school board this focuses on our strategic goal, 1, grade 3 reading. And if you look for the Lone Star Governance Monitoring Calendar, that is what we're planning for today. Growth progress measures 1.1 to 1.3. Okay, so these goal progress measures today for GPM 1.1 is kindergarten reading, 1.2 is grade 1 reading, and GPM 1.3 is grade 2 reading. This is our goals that we have. We'll put these and kind of capture them in front. And our goal progress measures are 1.1 to 1.3. This is a beginning of the year assessment and this was recorded in September 2023-24. The assessment tool that we're utilizing is M-Class reading, and that's for grades K1 and 2. So if you look on the left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have our goal progress measures. Kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. We have the 23-24 LSG goal for reading. For kindergarten, it's 42%. First grade, 45, and second grade is 39. The beginning of the year reading, these are results for 23-24. We surpassed the goal at 43%. We're coming up on goal 1.2, promise measure 1.2 at 34%, and second grade at 35%. So let's look at this in terms of the data. Let me explain this to you. Going from left to right, we have the 2022 end of year baseline, which is at 36%. If you look at the black bars, those black bars represent the 5-year targets for 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. If you look at the next bar here in red, 2023 end of year was at 52% for kindergarten. Our goal for 2023 was set at 39%. So we obviously surpassed that. The next second red bar says 2023 beginning of the year. Well, if you look at the bar at 2024, our goal for this year was at 42%. So you can see at this point we've surpassed that at the beginning of the year. This is very critical because remember, these are kindergarten students. Many of them have come from a pre-K program. Some have not. So for some, it's just their first year stepping into a thing we call school. But we have a good majority of those individuals who have already gone through pre-kindergarten, 4th grade, 4-year-old. But some of them have also gone through the 3-year-old program. We have the 3-year-old, 4-year-old program through our Head Start program, pre-K, at both Cardin, Stafford, and Little Park, and this year we're adding Pedales Elementary. So you can see that our starting off at 43 to 42, we're off to a good start at the beginning of the year. Our next diagram shows that we've been going from a 35% to the left. That was our 2022 end of year baseline. In 2023, the end of year score was 44%. Our 2023 goal for last year was set at 40. So we surpassed that by 4 percentage points. This year, these are grade 1 readers. They came in at the beginning of the year at 34%. Fully 11 points below the goal, which is at 24%. Our next one is grade 2. Grade 2 reading had a beginning of the year, a baseline for 2022 end of year baseline of 29%. At the end of the year last year, we were set at 43%. Our goal for 2023 was set at 34%. So clearly, passing that by 9 points. This year, 2023, beginning of the year, we're set at 35%, and the goal for 2024 is set at 39%, or 4 percentage points this side of the goal. So as we look at this, why don't we look at last year compared to this year? So we have our 37%. This year, at the beginning of the year, we're at 34%. Last year in second grade, we were 32, and this year we're at 35. So we can see, comparatively speaking, from last year, we've had some significant gains. A significant gain is a gain that's greater than or equal to 5% percentage points statistically. If we look at third grade, last year we had 38% at the beginning of the year, and you notice there's a non-applicable. Because at this year, 23, we're not using M-class reading to measure that. We're using NWEA MAP scores. When we come to you with NWEA MAP scores, you'll have that data with you to see what that third grade is. But to put a number up there would not be an apples to apples, so to speak, but it would give us a measure on NWEA MAP. So, what does this mean in terms of reinforcements and refinements? Reinforcements are those things that we're going to do again because they prove to be fruitful. What are some refinements? What things are we changing to our plan such that we can improve our scores this time? So you can see for reinforcement, we're going to focus on our HMH foundational skills routine, structured literacy, new updates. And I have something to share with you in the next slide about these new structured literacy updates. HMH is still our Tier 1 instructional tool that we use for reading English language arts. And next one is monitor implementation of small group instruction using M-class and iStation interventions. So M-class provides us some intervention materials, our thoughts and ideas. But iStation is also another platform that we use. Again, thank you to the Board of Trustees who approved those two applications. Those also provide interventions as a support for instruction. And district-wide, we're going to continue to focus on coaching cycles on first grade. As you saw, first grade is an area that we have the greatest gap that we need to achieve. So we're going to continue with that this year. The last bullet under reinforcements, administration and instructional coach. That's what IC stands for, instructional coach. Collaboration on foundational skills routines. You'll hear more about that in our board performance planning and also future board meetings, and also today, I believe, because we utilize a walkthrough forum that allows our academics group and school leadership group to focus on specific components of the teaching routines. Refinements. Coaching cycles focus on priority grades 1 and 2 on a 2-week cycle. So this is going to be at a greater frequency, and now we're looking at grades not only grade 1, but grades 1 and 2. Instructional coaches continue supporting Tier 1 instruction in structured literacy across the district. As you notice, that's the new update that we mentioned in the reinforcement, and we're continuing that across the district. Finally, HMH training continues to support all teachers K through second grade. HMH is a very robust instructional product, and that instructional resource has a lot of pieces that teachers can utilize. So that training is constant. We also have some new teachers in this area, so we want to make sure that those teachers are taught up with how Edgewood teaches reading English language arts. So, this particular slide, this past Saturday, our Reading English Language Arts coordinator, Ms. Marissa Bettis, put together a professional development this past Saturday, and we had 41 teachers attend this training on structured literacy for K, 1, and 2. And HMH Writable 3, 4, 5. Board members, if you recall, when we talked about our reading assessment in STAR for grades 3, 4, and 5, we noticed that we had some shortcomings. One of those pieces that changed in that particular STAR 2.0 was 50% of that reading piece was writing. And so we are hitting the writing at a very high pace to have maximum impact. So these are the pieces that we went over. Okay, it's time for discussion and sharing. You write down any questions you have or concerns. Everyone has a SLG or RET number at your table. So we'll give you some time, a couple minutes to share your questions. Hi, son. How are you doing? Good. What's your name? Bill Chuck. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes.
So it was a good idea when we suggested the stipend for the teachers to participate in those trainings that were about reading.
Yes, ma'am, it was, because obviously our teachers work very hard, sometimes late hours and also through the night, sometimes on holidays. So whenever we have a training that's as important as the one that we had, it offers some incentive for them to attend. So thank you. Yes, sir.
And I think Ms. Castillo mentioned, she was talking about the reading academies.
Yes.
I think HR brought it up in the comp plan a couple years ago. Ms. Trino, you brought that up, compensation for kindreds and third. And then I believe it also included the principals, correct? Because it's required by the state law. Thank you for remembering.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, I apologize, sir. campus. Right, yes. For each GPMs, 1.1, kindergarten 1.2, first grade, and 1.3, second grade.
So these particular areas, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all very much. Again, if you have anything to put down, go ahead and get that to the person sitting at your table, or Ms. Castillo will take that up. Next part is work session 5A. This is our board quarterly progress tracker, 27th quarter, DQ 27. And priority 1 is focusing on student success. And strategic goals that are covered in this area are goal 1, which is two-way communication and parent engagement. You remember, that's our one that we look for, how well we're doing. Goal 6 is develop an effective organizational framework. You've seen this, and I believe Ms. Castilla has seen this before, and we're going to LSG training, Ms. Castilla, and that's when we probably will have a better idea of how we can move the needle in this particular area. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Bussman to discuss frontline education for our skilled workforce.
Correct. Good evening, Board of Trustees, members. Thank you for your time. So one of the items that we're taking into consideration is the front line. And what this is the pre-K kindergarten skill books. In essence, it's their report card. For years, our teachers have done it on paper. So what Dr. Miller did, she got together with all our teachers, they collaborated and created this report card that now is going to migrate into frontline. So now it's going to be automated. So no longer we can do it by paper, but it's a one-time cost to take those and integrate them into frontline. So that's what this is.
Okay?
Any questions on that?
I assume that the opening of the parents will go like a breakdown, will they have like access to the someone, so they can see their
The question is, will they have access to the frontline? I don't know, Mr. Brothers, but I can find out for you. We can put it
They will.
for Will they?
Yes, we already have access for all of our other grades, so this would be, this is another reason why we're putting it in front line, so that they can see it on the parent website.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
This is probably a good opportunity to remind, this is a good opportunity to ask parents to update their information like when we met with the parents last couple. Because we do have a lot of parents that haven't done that, so when they can't get it, it's because the information hasn't been
That
updated.
has been updated.
So just for the record, because I know parents will watch the video, we need to get our folks to go in and update on parent self-serve, they need to go in and update their information.
So if parents don't have the right information, they'll have a hard time. They gotta go in and update their information. Yes, sir.
So right now, do the parents have access to the front line, like the attendance side, without we're having the
So right now, for grades first through 12, our parents have access to grades and attendance. So now we'll be able to see both of those in the pre-K. We're looking to implement, hopefully it gets approved and we have to go through the appeal process and all of that to have it built. We're looking at kindergarten for the second 6 weeks grades and start next semester for pre-K 3.
and our parents be able to let their house, and that they'll be able to do the children's grades on the front line, something like that?
Yes, we send that out for all of our other grade levels, so as soon as we implement, we'll let our pre-K.
I'd like to add some more information on that. You're probably wondering why we only have first through 12, because our board policy says that we're gonna have what's called a non-graded report card for pre-K A. A non-graded report card that would call it A, B, C, or 95 or 93. So the non-graded report card, what we did is before we had this, they would put them in and say how the student's doing. Now we're just automating that so that the teachers enter that in the front line, and now parents can access the parent report. And also pictures. Yes, sir.
Now let's talk about our district improvement plan, but before we do, I'm gonna introduce Mr. Abundi's, Director of Federal Programs, because he knows all information relative to how to log in into our district improvement plan. So he's gonna walk you through on how you get in there and set yourself up.
Hello again. So the good thing is I emailed all the board members. You should have received an email from Pax Learning earlier today, and it's gonna look like this one. It'll look like this, and then just follow. Alright, good. all the board members should have received an email earlier today from Plan for Learning. It should look like this one. Once you click on the login, on the upper right-hand corner, it's gonna look like this. And in the original email, it has your username and password. Once you log in the first time, so I did this because I wasn't sure how many of you guys remember your old password. Just to make it easier, I just reset all seven of you individuals to go ahead and make it easier for everybody. So once you sign in with the password and email and the username and password that was sent to you in the email, you log in and guess what? It's gonna make you to create a new password. Once you do that, then you're gonna come to this page. So this is probably the most important page. I think, does this thing work? Yes. Well, yeah, it does. So I think everybody's kind of looking maybe over here. I look at the big screen. So what you have to remember really is two little sections, which is up here in the very top where the arrows at, where it says District Improvement Plan. This toggle right here has, not only does it have the District Improvement Plan, it has, if you look over here, it has all the plans in there. So if you want to look at Loma Park, you click up here and you change District Improvement Plan to Loma Park, and it's gonna go to the Loma Park section. When you get there, then what you have to do, you have two options. The first thing would be, you could either look at the goals, or you could look at the need assessment. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna go into the goals, so I can go to the next slide. So once you hit goals, it's gonna look like this. It's gonna have our 5 goals. So just FYI, all of our campuses and district improvement plans should have the same goals, okay? So let's say you hit the plus sign on goal 1, it's gonna show you all your performance objectives. I'm only showing you one, but each goal has more than one performance objective. Where the plans are gonna be different is gonna be in the next one. Once you hit performance objective, it's gonna show you strategies. And this is where the schools, based on their needs assessment, their strategies are gonna be different for each performance objective. This is where you're really gonna see the differences in the campus. Again, it's gonna be based on what their need for those campuses. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, just easy access, whatever school or district improvement plan, you come to goal, you hit which goal you wanna look at, what performance objective, and then once you hit the performance objective, it's gonna show you the different strategies under that performance objective. Now, is every performance objective going to have a strategy? No, it depends on the campus. If they felt that that was one of their needs, then there will be a strategy in there, okay? Another thing you can also look into is their needs assessment. I think they were talking about, what are some of our needs? I think Mr. Chavez kind of talked about a reading score, right, last year. So then the needs assessment is, so again, you're gonna hit needs assessment. When you hit needs assessment, you're gonna see these 4 topics: demographics, student learning, district processes and programs and perceptions. The biggest one for us is student learning, because that's all where all the academic data is gonna be at. But just a friendly reminder, we have not received STAR data. So right now, we're still using the previous year's STAR data, and we just received BOY data, so I don't think BOY is gonna be in it. It should be in there within a week or so. Again, that's data so we're still looking at the previous year data for that as well. So once you hit student learning, it's gonna look like this, and it's gonna just have all the data from the campuses or the district, okay? And that's pretty much it, just, again, let me just go to that first one. You're really gonna this is the page you have to remember. On top, it has the district improvement plan and all the campuses, like it's shown here. Either you wanna look at the goals or the needs assessment. And that's where all the information's at, okay? If there's any questions, and now I'm gonna hand it off to Dr. Basuki, who's really gonna go in more in depth into the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mundi. So when we're looking at the next piece of the presentation is what I want to break down for you is how the goals, the priorities, and the strategies, okay? So here's one thing to kind of look at. When you're looking at the district improvement plan, please understand that that is really more a comprehensive academics focused plan, okay? And so when you're looking at the district improvement, it doesn't necessarily cover all the district strategic plans because the strategic plan for the district covers academic and operational. So there's a distinction between the two. The DIP, District Improvement Plan, pretty much covers all the academics focus plans. In there, you're gonna hear the words objectives and strategies, okay? But I just wanna make that determination. So what we've done here to kind of help, because some of the words do come across differently, is here's the overall components for the DIP, or the District Improvement Plan. You're gonna have, Mr. Abundi's alluded to it a little bit. you know, there's comprehensive needs assessment piece, you've got measurable goals, performance objectives, strategies, and so on and so forth. You've got funding sources, all those things. These are all components that Mr. Abundis was kind of sharing with you that are in that district improvement plan. The way, this is the simplistic way to look at it. The way it's set up, there's 5 DIP goals, and this is the way it's set up. One goal, underneath it, you have performance objectives. In this case, let's use the example of focus on student success, that's DIP goal 1. Underneath it, here's 2 examples. There's more than this, but there's 2 examples. Reading and writing and mathematics performance objectives. Those are what we call the performance objectives. Underneath them are the strategies. And yes, sometimes strategies, like for example, in mathematics, progress monitor, district-based assessments, well, you're gonna do that in reading as well. You'll do that in social studies, you do that in science. But some are just specific to that one. So for example, implementation of science of teaching and reading, that is only gonna be found under reading and writing, okay? So very simplistic, DIP, performance objectives, and then you have your strategies. And of course, Mr. Abundi showed you where you can go in there and read all the different strategies and performance objectives. Now, under DIP goal 1, focus on student success, you notice I put on in priority 1 under the district program or our district priorities. It's priority 1. The stars represent how they're aligned. So you got reading and writing. As you know, we have reading and writing for performance goals. So that's where the stars come in. The little star, there's one for reading and writing and one for mathematics. But we don't just teach reading and writing and mathematics. We also have science, social studies, and electives. And so all these are performance objectives under DIP goal 1. It includes college for military readiness, choice and innovation, advanced academics, intervention and acceleration. So all these would have strategies. DIP goal 2, focus on students, families, and communities. It sounds very familiar, and it is on to priority 2. This one has the family and community engagement objective, professional development, health and safety, safety plan, enhanced parent skills. So all those are directly tied to our district plan. DIP goal 3, focus on employee organizational improvement, which is actually more aligned to priority 4. Put that in parentheses. Remember, this is mostly academic, but here's leadership development, highly effective instructional staff, and teacher retention pieces are in there. DIP goal 4, exceptional learners, is really tied to priority 1. This is talking about special population groups, special education, ELL, migrant students, dyslexia, and McKinney Mental. And last but not least, you've got DIP goal 5, student support services, and this one covers a little bit of priority 1, 2, and 5, because it has the early childhood programs, guidance and counseling, social emotional learning, wellness, healthy lifestyles, and STEAM-related activities. So in a nutshell, this is the way the DIP is set up for you, so when you go in there, you can kind of peruse through it based off of those 5 goals. Are there any questions?
Yes.
When I searched on the website in the past, y'all have posted the 2021, 2020 to 2021 district improvement plan. Are you going to be posting that this district improvement plan on our website also?
Well, the question is, will we post it on our website? And yes, we will, sir. We'll post it on the website.
Do you have a timeline?
Well, as soon as you're approved, and then we still have to update the data, once we get the data from the state, so we can go in there and redo the needs assessments. So we would hope that by November would be a good time, assuming all the data's in, so we can go in there and update everything. Yes?
So I was seeing like all the campuses have different number of strategies aligned, what is strategy?
So that is gonna bleed into Dr. Matkins. That's the campus improvement plan. I'm just dealing with the structure of the DIP. So I will defer that to Dr. Matkins, because you're talking about the campus improvement plan?
I was going through the web page.
Went to the webpage. Yes, sir.
I was just very interesting, so I don't know what this plan for learning is, so I can explain for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I also want to add to that, I think you mentioned it, but to be clear. So remember our final scores are held up right now. The commissioner put a hiatus on that right now. So as far as we know, it was 2 weeks ago, and then from that time to total is gonna be a month. So we have to take that into account. The second thing, trustees, that I want to remind all of you, also is that the DIP and the CIP is a living document. It's never really finished. I'm watching a lot of the trustees nod your head. I you look at it on Monday, and then you change it to 2 weeks, just to give you that, trustees, so you know that, okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
And Title I is where Title I is too. Title I, what is the Title I mean on the?
A Title I school means when you have Mr. Moody's, you probably have the clear definition. 40% of students who are identified as economic disadvantaged.
Yes.
That's all our cases.
Any campus at 40% or above, so pretty much all our schools.
All
It
right.
says not applicable under Title I of
Say that again?
It says not applicable for Title I.
Oh, on the peripheral end, it says not applicable to Title I, so Mr. Valdez, we'll research that for you, not sure what that means, and then we can give you something on our monthly board book items, that way we can give you an update. It's on that page where it says not applicable under Title I, so he wants to know what that means, so we can research and find that out for him.
And the goals, performance objectives, and strategies, some of them are different words with the direct campuses, so one of them.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so if I'll allow Dr. Mackes, she's gonna now talk to you about the campus improvement plans, and that'll explain some of those questions that you have, Mr. Valdez. Yes. The question was, how does this cascade down to the campuses? So we're talking about the DIP, right, and then you're talking about the goals, the objectives, and the strategies, and his question is, how does this come down to the campuses? So, that'll be Dr. Mackes. Dr. Mackes?
Oh, it's actually Mr. Matthews.
Excuse me, Mr. McElwain.
Thank you, Dr. Pasuto, and thank you, board members, Madam President, members of the board, and guests and colleagues. To not talk through additional slides and give you a good idea of how our campus improvement plan process works, we've, along with our principals, have prepared a video presentation for you, and then I'll speak a little bit more specifically about the overall sort of scope of the campus improvement planning process as soon as the video's run. It's a little over a 5-minute video. I hope that you enjoy it. Our outstanding PR department, under Ms. Makulis' leadership, helped our campus principals prepare this for you. So again, I hope this gives you a kind of a good idea of the campus improvement planning process. And then you should be able to see how it kind of falls under the district improvement plan as well. So, Joey, can you play the video for us? Thank you.
And at EISD, our campus principals, leadership team, teachers, and staff are committed to improving school culture, student outcomes, parental enrollment, and stakeholder engagement. Each year, our schools develop campus improvement plans, or CIPs, to help focus efforts on measurable goals and track performance throughout the year. Beginning with a comprehensive needs assessment, we seek feedback from stakeholders and use those findings to design the campus improvement plan. An effective CIP brings focus to campus activities and helps ensure unity of purpose, alignment, and clear accountability. Each plan details how activities will be monitored and evaluated for impact. What you will find in each of our CIPs are strategies that have been developed by campus stakeholders, along with monitoring and evaluation plans, a budget for the expenditure of Title I funds, all working together to ultimately improve student outcomes and help us reach our district goals. These plans are presented before the board for approval each year. Now, let's hear from 4 of our principals on how they approach the improvement planning process on their campus.
The campus improvement plan is developed by the Campus Performance Objective Committee. This committee is made up of administrators. The goal of the administrator in CPOC is to make sure they facilitate the process from beginning to end. Teachers are also part of this CPOC committee. Their goal is to bring an insight to curriculum, instruction, and classroom needs. Next, we have support staff. For example, counselors. They have best understanding of the social emotional needs of our students and family members. Lastly, we have parents and community members. Parents and community members bring to the table a very unique perspective, which is an insight to students' home life and also where the campus has been historically and where they would like to see the campus go. Each committee member has the opportunity to shape the improvement plan in various ways. Data collection, goal setting, resource allocation, accountability, continuous feedback, lastly, community buy-in. In essence, the involvement of these stakeholders ensures a more comprehensive and well-rounded improvement plan that addresses the diverse needs of the school community.
The campus decides which goals and strategies are reflected in the campus improvement plan by looking at staff data, student data, and parent community data. Here at GUS, this is a collaborative effort among stakeholders as they want to decide on goals and strategies that will, one, improve campus morale, two, student outcomes, and three, parent and community involvement. By using staff, student, and parent community data, we determine which goals and strategies need to be adjusted, added, or even removed from our campus improvement plan based on our needs. Once finalized, the campus improvement plan is then shared with all stakeholders.
As part of our mission to prepare students for kindergarten, we use a variety of data points to set up priorities for the year. All of these priorities contribute to our ultimate goal of supporting student success. To determine our strategies and areas of focus, we analyze reports generated by the Circle Progress Monitoring System, which is 100% aligned with the pre-K guidelines. Among the areas analyzed are rapid learning, rapid vocabulary, phonological awareness, and math competencies, such as both counting, number identification, and operations. Data from the classroom assessment scoring system or CLASS is also analyzed to support the organization of the classroom, instruction, and emotional well-being of our students. Family engagement and student attendance, which are strong predictors of student success, are also data points that help the campus team determine priorities for kindergarten readiness.
Monitoring the implementation of a campus improvement plan, CIP by our committee, is crucial to ensure that we are making the progress towards the goals we have set for our campus. Our monitoring process is ongoing and flexible, allowing for adjustments as needed. We regularly assess not only the outcomes, but also the effectiveness of our strategies and actions outlined in our CIP. By doing so, we can make data-informed decisions and continuously improve our campus's educational outcomes. It's in the power of the collective, which allows us to create traction in making a difference for our EISD scholars.
These are just a few examples of the processes, areas of focus, and specific strategies our campuses consider in the development of their campus improvement plans. Through the determined effort and focused contribution of every stakeholder, Edward ISD campus improvement plans provide clarity and direction for the improvement of student outcomes in each of our schools. Thank you for your support as we endeavor to provide an exceptional learning experience that prepares students to compete and reach their highest potential in this ever-changing world.
Okay, thank you, board, for hopefully enjoying that little overview of our campus improvement planning process. Joey, you can click to the next. Okay. So again, just to kind of reframe, every year we bring campus improvement plans to the board along with the district improvement plan for approval. Dr. Hernandez said earlier that they are a living document, and so as we go through the year, you'll see that like the components of the campus improvement planning process includes establishing performance objectives, evaluation tools, strategies for improvement, and then it's naming which staff is responsible for the various aspects of the improvement plan, and then what timelines are being put in place by the campuses for ongoing monitoring. It starts with the comprehensive needs assessment. It is aligned, each of our campus improvement plans are aligned to the district improvement plan, and it's serves as a roadmap for campuses, all staff, and including stakeholders, because our campus improvement plans also involve planning around increasing parental involvement in community activities. And so when you go through each of them, each of our campuses has goals aligned to increasing community and parental involvement. And so it involves all stakeholders in the continuous improvement process for the campuses. And so, board, at the regular board meeting, you actually now have, through Plan for Learning, access to all of our campus improvement plans, and we'll be asking for your approval at the regular board meeting for all of the campuses, as well as the district improvement plan. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Is that video you created available in Spanish as well?
We can make it available in Spanish. It was just finalized today for the board and is not yet live on YouTube. So this is a restricted view. Really, this was just for you as a introduction to the CIP process. But if and when we broadcast it out, we can certainly, I'll ask PR to make it available in Spanish.
Yes, thank you. I have a lot of Spanish.
Yes. Again, this was really created for the board. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, the board. Dr. Hernandez, that concludes the leadership presentation.
I think at this time, guys, we're gonna take a real quick 5-minute break. Yes, sir.
On study session item 4A, it also said we were gonna talk about consideration of the EISD resolution to the board declining to adopt the policy authorizing every campus of the district to hire a chaplain Texas Education Code section 33.002. It was submitted by you, Dr. Hernandez.
Which one?
For item 4.A.
4.48.
Yes.
Is that the study session or the work session?
Y'all posted it on study session 4A. We did talk about everything else, but there's one last thing that was sent to us on our workbook. The consideration of the EISD resolution of the board declining to adopt the policy authorizing every campus of the district to hire a chaplain under the Texas
Oh.
Education Code section 3.002.
Yes, that item was removed, so we're not bringing it up for consideration in this meeting. So that item. There you go. So that item was removed, Mr. Valdez. We're not bringing it up for the workshop. It is still under guidance at this point. We may be bringing it up during the regular board meeting, but at this time, we're not ready to discuss it with all trustees. I think we have until, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, March of next year to actually bring that item up for your consideration. So if we do bring it up, we'll put it in the next board book, sir. Any other questions? Okay. So we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break at this time. We do have cake regarding we have 3 birthday studies. I mentioned Mr. Espinosa, you weren't here, but your birthday is this month. So your birthday, Mr. Valdez and Mr. Guerra, we'll take a quick 5-minute break at this time. Thank you. If the next group can set up.
once in a while, something just holds me, and I know, don't.
So good evening, everyone. Madam President, members of the board, colleagues, and guests. So tonight you're going to hear presentations from Ms. Maculas, Ms. Trevino. Mr. Williams is not here. He's out representing us at with the TRS board, but we have one of his items, and obviously one of our other members is Mr. Greathouse. And I just realized, Ms. Heather, that I misspelled his name. Sorry, Mr. Greathouse, I apologize. As part of our intended learning outcomes this evening, you're going to hear all of the items that will be up for approval, and some informational as we usually have every month from Business and Finance, Human Resources, Operations, and our Chief of Staff and Communications. You're going to see some items that are high leverage, including some amendments, we're going to hear a presentation about our health insurance. That's going to be relevant for our live staff, so those are coming up here shortly. As always, the work that we do is around our 5 priorities. Mr. Chavez and our district improvement plan, you know that we anchor everything that we do to these priorities, and tonight is no different. The first agenda item that I'm going to ask the board to review is agenda item E. I'm asking for a budget transfer of $120,000 with hopefully no impact to the fund balance. We will transfer some funds internally, about $65,000 for legal fees and $55,000 for a van that will help serve our culinary arts students at Memorial High School. That is $120,000 that will come out of a different function with no effect to fund balance. Board agenda item F. In your agenda, you had 2023-2024 budget calendar, so I will address that. But this is in conjunction with that. The 2022-2023 calendar is near final completion. That ended with, or was near final last month when you adopted the final tax rate for the district. In addition to that, the other piece that Ms. Trevino is pretty near final in her team is the staff leveling that occurs around this time of the year as well. So those were the final pieces to complete the calendar, not the work, but the calendar for 22-23. What you will see, and board, this isn't required, but we do this every year to keep you up to speed and up to date, and you'll see that it's getting here earlier and earlier. 2024-2025 budget calendar, we have a draft. It looks like this. Much like everything that we do, it is a continuously revised document, but these are the deadlines and the targets that we have for this year. So we will ask the board, even though it's not required, we will ask the board to have this as an agenda item for the upcoming board meeting, and I will send this also the board update this Friday. Yes, sir.
Board. Okay. Yes, board. I want to reiterate what Ms. Martinez said. The budget calendar is not an expectation and or requirement that we are required to share with anyone. We do it because we've been doing it now for 5 years. It is part of our process in terms of keeping you informed on what we're looking at over the next, the rest of this academic year, of course, because we're planning for 24-25. That is in the spirit of transparency. And these items are available. Obviously, these are available on your board book, and eventually they'll end up on our websites. But again, this helps us forecast. I'm going to put this in a little bit of context. When you consider a couple of things that are going on, I want to talk about unforeseen costs. So there's a couple of unforeseen costs that we have had here recently. Ms. Martinez alluded to on item E, that we have unforeseen costs with regards to legal expenditures. Obviously, we are spending more legally this month to the tune of about $5,000 more than we were spending monthly in prior years, if I remember that correctly from what the numbers that I showed you, ma'am. It's about $5,000. So I want you to understand, we may be coming back to you in future months to ask you for an additional budget amendment, because we are currently in the middle of various conversations with our legal teams to include an independent counsel that's conducting an investigation. This is all part of transparency. I want y'all to know where that expenditure is coming from. And so that's the first thing I want you to consider, unforeseen circumstances. The second item that I want to bring to your attention is that we're also waiting on a legislative session that is currently going on. Now, from what Ms. McCullough and I, we attended a legislative action committee today, and my understanding is that we are going to be gaveling in.
Gaveling in and gaveling out on Monday, that's the rumor right now.
So I'll go with my understanding from what we're hearing. The meeting will start Monday, and it's our understanding that it will revolve around school finance to include items that, board, you've heard multiple times, with regards to vouchers and things of that nature. But for my purposes, it's school finance. So I don't have a definitive answer if we're going to be getting any more additional assistance. So again, unforeseen circumstances with regards to our legal fees and things that we're accruing, I will be continuing to have that conversation with our board officers, and of course, we will be transparent with that on where the costs are specifically. And then the second thing is the unforeseen costs with regards to this year's legislative session. Because I can no more tell you if we are or not getting any assistance from our legislators up in Austin. Thank you.
And the task force.
And then, of course, we do have work going on with it, thank you, ma'am, with the task force. And so, again, we're starting even earlier than we've done other years, but it's good practice anyways. And if you ever want to ask what evidence I have to prove that, we'll look at our first ratings. We have now had 6 to 7 years of great financial first ratings in the district, and this is why. So, back to you, ma'am.
Thank you. So this is this is a quarterly report. On a regular month, you see the month reports. The quarterly report is required to be approved. For this quarter, the earnings, in the quarter ending June 30th, the earnings were $952,000, about. This is very different than what we were seeing in prior years. With the inflation that we see in expenses, we're also getting a little bit better return on our investments. Year to date, for last fiscal year that ended on June 30th, we had about $2.6 million in interest. That's about double the amount that we had seen in prior years. We also have under item H, a request for proposal, RFP 23-013. This is for operations, supplies, and equipment. It is a multi-vendor award report. I'll remind you that a few years ago, we moved to the process of creating RFPs and or RFQs early so that we have a list of vendors that we could go to. This was mainly due to supply chain issues, but it has worked really well, and we want to continue the practice. We want to award these vendors, these 10 vendors, the supplies bid one more year, and we're going to continue to exercise that as long as the board allows us. What you'll have coming next, because this is a short month and we didn't have time to put it into this agenda, we will also be sending the board update RFP 23018 for the police department uniforms, supplies, equipment, and related services. These last couple of years, we've had a really big emphasis on safety. And so this will allow Chief Quiroga and his team to be able to pull the trigger and make purchases pretty quickly because we've already gone through the vetting process of the vendor. So you will be getting that vendor information and the proposals by this Friday. Also, along the lines of security, we have the window security film. We received a grant. That's going to cover almost 100% of this cost. It's $449,995. This is will be through a Region 20 co-op. We are not required to bring it to the board at the next meeting, but we wanted you to know and the community to know that we are investing heavily into our security. This particular item will be for the window security film at the campuses. And it is about a $500,000 investment that we're making, mainly from grant funds. So this will also be coming up in a board update, and again, we're putting it here so that our community knows that we are vested and we are promoting and moving and applying for grants as best as we can for security purposes. So I do not have the donations report yet, but I will have it hopefully by the end of the week. It's only the 3rd, so we're trying to gather all that information. So our recurring items to include the donations, our monthly tax collections report, and our financial statements through September should be completed by this Friday. You will see it here in the next week or two. Again, these are not items that are going to be approved, but it is something that we put in as informational every month, so you will get to see that. Also, as part of the budget calendar, I alluded to that earlier, we're also in the middle of wrapping up our annual financial report for 2023. So you will be starting to get updates. Hopefully we get the fund financials, which is the bulk of the items, in the next week and a half. And I'm hoping to get those for approval by October. I will have a blush by the time we have our board performance planning meeting. We should be able to have a little bit deeper discussions. I do not anticipate that we're gonna hit our fund balance as heavily. We're still practicing using grant funds, et cetera, so that we can stock up our fund balance like we've been trying to do over the last couple of years to get us through the next 2 years with the non-funding that we're getting from the state. So I will start having payments to that here come in the next week or two. Dr. Hernandez, and we've touched on this several times, we are formally required to have a public hearing regarding our first rating. The ratings are official. We have a 96 out of 100 points. We will have our public hearing. It will be posted in the newspaper as required by law. It will be October the 24th, 15 minutes before our regularly scheduled board meeting. So that's scheduled for 5:45 October 24th. A lot of information. If you want to take a minute to discuss or ask questions, or you have questions of me. Okay. Table discussion or question from you, sir?
So when you post on the workbook, and all that posted is the cover letter, you know why there's not like any additional detail? Like, especially for the budget.
Because we were still working through the numbers. I mentioned earlier, like only the third. So we work in cycles of the month. So in order to get good cost, we needed to get some of those things posted. That's why you'll see these in the updates.
What was the question?
Sorry, let me repeat the question. I don't have a lot of detail, as I mentioned right now, with some of the items, and that's because it is only the third of the month. So I have to wait for some of these things to post, including for the budget amendment, to see where we have gaps. So those are, yeah. So some of the backup I don't have here.
So we will go ahead and put, for all those items, but I think there was a specific question about the budget amendment. We will put some more information there on the specifics of where that is actually coming from.
Right, and right now, actually, the next item, you know what, let me just move on. That way, since Mr. Williams is not here, I'm going to cover this for him. Sure, let me just go over this, and we'll go over your questions, because this will answer one of them. The budget amendment includes this culinary arts van. We are supporting the Memorial High School Culinary Arts Program. This was not a planned purchase. We thought we were going to be able to get this from our lease, and we weren't. So we're going to end up purchasing a van, and that's part of the budget amendment that you see is for the $55,000 is actually for this item that will also be up for approval.
So like on the workbook, so why couldn't like the 65,000 legal fees and 55,000 on the culinary arts be posted as like at least a cover letter or additional material?
Okay, well, Mr. Mendez, as I mentioned, I didn't have the information ready with the exact numbers. That's why you just saw budget amendment. We've done that in the past, like last month, I think, or in August, I did the same thing, because I wait for the financial statements to close. That way, if there are any other amendments that I need, I already know exactly where our estimates are by the end of the month. So I took the information from July through October, averaged out what I thought we were gonna have and what we could sweep. So let me give you a little bit, back up a little bit. There are things that you don't see there because we're able to say, we've got monies here, I'm just gonna transfer it. It doesn't require an amendment or to come to the board because it's the right function. There are other items that are in a different function that are required because you adopt the budget, the board adopts the budget by function level. So anytime we have changes that cross functions, like in this case, we're moving from function 11 to functions 36 and 41, I'm required to bring it to the board. But there's a lot of little things that happen that never come to this level because they're not required to.
Like also the budget calendar, it was projected, but it's not on here on the board.
No, sir. It is not. Most of these items, a lot of these items are not there. We're just building them. That's why I'm gonna put them in the update this Friday. Yes, sir?
It would really be easier if everything to be done, like in preparation for this board workshop to see. And, Dr. Hernandez, can you talk more about the $65,000 of legal fees? You said there's gonna be an independent counsel. Can you please elaborate on that?
I can actually. So the 65,000, the reason we haven't brought it up is because we're still accumulating where those costs are coming from. Those $65,000 aren't coming directly from the governing body. I wanted to make sure that we had all our numbers finalized before we actually shared it, but for the record, I don't mind doing that at your request. And I want to reiterate that. The $65,000 are the aggregate of multiple questions that have been coming out of the governing body that board operating procedures require that they go through the board president and or the superintendent. So any deviation from that starts costing us money. So at this point, we're close to that amount. So we have to plan to make sure that if there are questions that are being asked, the one, we're able to meet our obligation, but that also in these platforms, we want to reiterate, we want to make sure that all trustees are following our board operating procedures with regards to questions. So that's really where the money's coming from, sir. And we're planning based on what we know today, and then what we believe that will be accumulating in the next few months. So you heard me mention earlier that right now we're about $5,000 over each month. So if I just throw that calculation in my head between now and I would say the end of the financial year, it's looking like about $120,000. And that does, to your other question, it does not also include any finances that we would be spending on any independent counsel, which is on a previous board agenda that was voted on by the board as well. Those are just the facts to remain transparent.
When you said independent counsel, like you're gonna have council of members, or did you say independent counsel of some?
So if you look at the previous board agenda, I want to say it was about 2 months ago.
I can't hear the
Oh,
questions.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Can you say that one more time?
You were talking about independent counsel, like a committee.
Can you talk into the microphone, sir?
You're talking about independent counsel of a committee, so if you can just like please elaborate on what you meant by that.
So the independent counsel is any legal team that we have. If you look at the board agendas from a couple of months ago, the board approved us to hire an independent counsel to conduct an investigation. And so those are possible legal fees that we'll have to plan for as well.
So I'm guessing these are the legal fees to Walsh Gallegos that this school board hired to investigate me?
I would look at the research. I would research the agendas from prior months, or yes. And if that's what's on there, then yes. That would be what I would consider to be factual and transparent.
So you said it's costing up to $120,000 now, or it will be $120,000 by the end of the budget
Can
year?
I clarify that?
Yes, please do so.
No, the budget amendment, so just to clarify, sir, the budget amendment is not specifically for those costs. The budget amendment is in that line item, we're going over about $5,000 a month in prior years. Right, so I'm anticipating that overall we're gonna need about $65,000 just to finish the year with our legal fees. So that independent counsel, we haven't seen anything yet, so I don't know what that's gonna look like. So when we talk about planning and looking at averages, that's what I was doing, was looking at the last few months, taking an average and trying to anticipate for the rest of the year. Much like we did for 2 months ago that we brought in August, the budget amendment for facilities. That's what we do on a continuous basis. You can expect to see this again in December. That's just the
Correct.
practice.
Correct. They're unanticipated costs.
The superintendent did say we're $5,000 over our legal fees.
So every month, yes, and actually, if I'm being fully transparent, it's probably a little bit more, but costs have gone down everywhere else. So last year, in April, May, and June, we were spending an average of about $9,800 to $10,000 a month on legal fees. Our legal fees the last few months have gone to $29,000 average, but other costs due to COVID have gone down. So on average, our legal bill is about $5,000 higher because we're not having to pay for the fees that we were doing for COVID when we had to write memos and then leave. We had really high costs at that point too. So some of those have gone down and other costs have gone up. So on average, we're spending about $5,000 more of legal fees, period.
Correct.
And for the investment report, can you
Yes, sir.
explain what that is again?
Yes, so we have funds that we use on a daily basis. We set those up in the bank to just have enough money to make our payments, whether it be our payroll or accounts payable. Anything else, we put them in what we call sweep accounts, and they're mainly in our pools. So our short-term investments that our pools make for us so that we can make money. And then as we're making payments, so we have a payroll run, we transfer monies just for the payroll run. We do the same thing for accounts payable to ensure that our money's working for us and not sitting in a bank earning minimal interest. Right now, we can get 4.5% to 5% interest by just shifting, doing something as simple as shifting to our pools. And it's a pretty safe investment that's allowed through our policy.
So like one of the funds is student activities, so you're
Correct.
investing in funds for student activity?
We do, because what we pay for, anything that belongs to students, we have in a separate account. So what we use that for is like, right now we're implementing credit card machines. There's bank fees that we have so that we don't touch the actual students' money. What we do is use those earnings to make sure that we pay for that. That way we're not impacting and taking 10 cents from every dollar that they're raising. So we ensure that we use those invested funds to cover those fees. We try not to touch the student accounts as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I did have a question for.
Can you hold on, sir? I have another hand. 1 second.
Thank you, ma'am. You know, I'm listening to what you're explaining about the budget amendment, and I'm sitting here, and these are the words that I keep hearing that are kind of disturbing to me. We're spending $5,000 more a month on legal fees. We have to do a budget amendment because of legal fees. We've never done that before, as far as I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unforeseen circumstances, but what really, really irks me is that it's coming from the governing body. So I want to ask the governing body, so we need to do something to prevent this, because my concern, since all this happened with the state about us having officers in every campus, that's my concern. The safety of the children and looking for that money to have the officers there. Now, to hear that the governing body is costing $5,000 a month on legal fees, we need to have a serious talk. Because I'm here to help the children. I'm not here to cause problems. I'm not here to spend more money than we have. And my thing right now is let's get those officers in. So these unforeseen circumstances, let's talk about those. Because this needs to stop. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Can you please pass me the mic?
You know, we talk about unforeseen circumstances, but in July, when I was absent, the school board did hire an attorney while Sky was to investigate me. So you want to talk about unforeseen circumstances? Y'all, the trustees that were present during that day, are the ones that hired the attorney to talk about legal services. So if you really want to talk about unforeseen circumstances, you talk about your vote is what you're talking about, is what you hired. You did know the commitment of attorneys when you hired. You did have how much the attorney was going to cost, correct, per hour, all the fees that the attorneys collected. So you want to talk about having a serious conversation. A serious conversation is why would you hire an attorney to talk about Trustee Michael Valdez? Because there was employee complaints. That's where your unforeseen circumstances come from.
That's not even part of the charge yet. Go ahead, Brian, please.
We're going to go ahead and move on from this item. Thank you to both those trustees for speaking on from an honest place. I do want to reiterate, these are the costs. This is part of being transparent. And so we have to bring that information coming forth. I do not recall the specific policy at this time, but when we have, because it was brought up, sir, if we have complaints from employees, we have to follow up on that. That is not our choice. There is a policy that requires us to follow up with that. And so the board is required to follow up with those things. So I'll leave that there. We can go ahead and move on.
I'm going to hand over the microphone to Ms. Trevino. Yes,
We're
sir.
going to move on. We're going to move on to other items.
Well, I had a question for item 8. I did not get to ask my question.
Yes, we'll go ahead and come back to that item here at the end. but we want to go ahead and move on because we do have a visitor that's here for this item, and I don't want to hold up that visitor. Thank you.
It's a question for an item that was discussed during the talk. We have a little.
We'll answer it for you, Mr.
Says
Carlos.
time for discussion and shares. That was one of the items, so I would just like to ask my question real quick, please. Thank you. My question was, because you know, I do have like an evaluation criteria. So what type of employees sit on the committee for like, to evaluate the RFPs?
That's actually good. This next item is gonna help you out with that too, because this is a particular item that requires that. So let's talk about this, Mr. Melez. It'll help answer your question. It applies to multiple places.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, President Casilla, members of the board, and individuals who are here. We do have some visitors. So as we want to discuss, item that I have coming forward is item N, and we do have some representatives here. This is a discussion for a recommendation for our new health insurance moving forward for 2024. I have Ms. Eleanor Mojica. She's our risk manager, and she's going to go over the process that we took as far as making the recommendation that we're bringing forward for you today. And then we have Rusty Freeman. He's with U.S. Employee Benefits Services. So just want to make sure that we have them. So they're going to go over a brief presentation and discuss with you the process that was used to bring the recommendation for you this evening.
Good evening, everyone. As Ms. Benito mentioned, I am the risk manager for the district. So I'm going to go over what process we use and how we determine to bring something for recommendation. So as you can see here, this is the current data that Blue Cross Blue Shield provides to us. So once we start evaluating this information, you can see on the last column is our loss ratio. So this loss ratio, as you can see when we began, it was at a good percentage. It was at 30%, which means that the premiums that we were paying Blue Cross were actually more than enough versus the claims that were being paid out. Once we get to August, you start seeing that we are surpassing 100% in its totality, right? So just as an estimate, this is August 2023. We can presume that come September and October, we're also going to be above 100%. We can see that our subscribers are actually, it fluctuates a little bit, but we stay around 970 subscribers. So that is in comparison to the about 1,800 employees that we currently have. So not, from here we can assume that not everybody is on our group insurance, okay? What is a loss ratio? So that's that loss column that I was talking about. The loss ratio is used in the insurance industry. It is basically the ratio representing the losses that the claims take in comparison to premiums. At this moment, the premiums that we are submitting to Blue Cross Blue Shield on a monthly basis is not enough for the claims that we are paying out. So essentially, Blue Cross Blue Shield is losing. Why are we losing? We do have high cost claimants. Right now, at this moment, we have about 14 that exceed $50,000 in claims paid. Again, this was as of August. So once we close out the year for 2023, we can assume that these claims are going to exceed even over $50,000. Where do we stand now? So based on our loss ratio and the relation it has to premium, there is going to be an increase in medical insurance. So the good thing is that last year when we did go out to bid for medical insurance, first of all, Blue Cross Blue Shield did provide us with competitive pricing for 2023, but they also offered us a 9.5 cap rate for 2024. Again, where we stand now, based on our loss ratio, we would be having an 18 to a 20% increase for our employees for each plan. Here we have the actual rates for 2023. In the middle, we have the rate cap for 2024, and then we have the 2024 premiums with the total increase. And we actually have handouts that we're going to pass out that really has this information. Chris is going to give that out right now. So again, each one of our plans is going to have an increase. You may ask, okay, what about employer contribution, right? The employer contribution is going to stay the same because that is part of the budget process where we determine, do we want to help out the 1,800 employees, giving them a raise, or do we want to increase the contribution itself to just help the 978 employees? At the end of the day, we want to help out the vast majority.
So that is the reason why the employer contribution is staying the same. The recommendation that we're bringing forward today is to continue with Blue Cross Blue Shield for 2024. How do we come up with this recommendation? We do have an insurance committee that meets. We do send out emails to all campuses and departments to choose their committee member to be the voice for their department. So we did meet. We have different employees. For example, we had a child nutrition specialist. We have a director representing the PPO department. We have teachers. We have principals. We have just a very, different team. That way everybody is able to bring in their input and decide if this is something that we want to recommend. Based on our ratio, there is no other option for us at the moment, starting January 1st, unfortunately. But I don't want to leave it just there, because we are looking to help our employees, coming in the future. So what are our options moving forward? Again, I just say we are recommending to move forward with Blue Cross Blue Shield as of January 1st. But moving forward, let's review alternatives for coverage. What does that mean? Do we go back out to bid, or do we go regional options? Regional options is something that we are looking into that may affect us. Because of our loss ratio, right now we are submitting RFPs on our own. If we do regional ratings, we can go into the regional rates with Region 20, which will kind of average out our loss ratios. So eventually, we are looking into the different options of reviewing plan years as well. Right now, our plan year is January 1st. So it might be, worth the try to see if it's an option for us to go ahead and start our plan year September 1st. TRS Active Care does offer that for our employees. Anybody in Region 20, we are looking into that to see if it's something that we possibly can move into. So I just want to make you all aware that it's something that we are looking into. Like I said, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the recommendation for January 1st, but that does not mean that we're stopping there. We want to look forward and continue searching to see what's better for our employees. Any questions?
Real quickly, it's been my experience from previous years that generally those long-term, those people that are small, it's always a small number, that have severe illnesses. That it's true in this case, I presume as well. Most people that have cancers, stuff like that, they create the cost.
That is correct. So the high cost claimant is determined after an employee seeks medical treatment and it's over $50,000. So that's when it starts affecting us largely. We are also required to offer COBRA coverage. So when an employee leaves, let's just say for a medical condition, they're requiring medical treatment. So we do have people that decide to enroll in COBRA coverage, which they are required to pay full premium, but are willing to because they need it. It's a necessity, but that also affects our claims. But again, it is a requirement to offer them at least 18 months. Yes, sir.
So there's about like 980 employees on the medical.
Correct.
How many employees do we have on the board?
Roughly about 1,800.
Sorry, I can't hear the question.
So his question was, there's 978 employees on medical, roughly. How many employees do we have? So I said roughly about 1,800, 1,600. Hence the reason why we're helping the vast majority with raises versus increasing employer contribution.
Do you track what the employees are on another health insurance plan, or do they just not have health insurance?
So that's actually tracked through our enrollment. So once open enrollment comes in, we do, ask employees to complete the actual enrollment process, because through ACA, Affordable Care Act notice, we do ask, do you have other coverage? Did you just elect not to choose coverage? Are they on Medicaid, Medicare, anything like that? So that is an option in our current enrollment system.
We're not required to validate that. Just want to, there are questions that we're required to ask, but we don't ask them. So we can't track.
So that will be reflected on the employees 1095.
Can you use the microphone? I can't hear, I'm sorry.
What does a loss ratio mean?
Here, so the loss ratio is just basically representing the ratio of losses into premiums. So for example, if we're over 100%, it means that Blue Cross Blue Shield, our current carrier, is losing because the premiums we're submitting to them, they're actually paying claims over that amount. So we're in the negative. Well, they're in the negative basically.
So like the church is going up 18 to 20%.
It should have been 18 to 20%, but because we had a cap with Blue Cross Blue Shield, their contract from last year offered, if we continued with them, it would be a cap at 9.5%. So if we were to go out to bid, instead of receiving the 9.5% increase for our employees, we would have been looking at 18 to 20.
And then just for the superintendent's office, we could have had this presentation as an attachment before, so I would have had more questions like developed, because I've never like read through a medical insurance plan, so it would have been important for you to place it as an attachment on our board book. Thank you.
We can go ahead and provide board updates throughout.
Yes, thank you, that's all, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for being here. We move on to the next item that I have, your reoccurring items that I have. Your item O is the discussion on employees that break contract, and then we will be taking those names forward for sanctioning of their contract. And you'll have those, we'll be providing those names to you through a board update. Just want you to know that's a recurring item that we have. And we have item P, is a monthly auxiliary and paraprofessional report. And then item Q is the monthly professional employment report that you receive. But we just want to make sure that we have it here on the agenda item. Do we have any questions in reference to those recurring items? Yes, sir.
So for like the evaluation of like the vendors, so how does like the employees get to like sit on the committee to evaluate the vendors?
Are you referring back to the insurance?
It was like item H, which says discussing a request for proposals, RFP 23-03 operations of highway.
So as you can see, we have a lot of varied RFQs and RFPs. Everyone has different experiences. At minimum, the department lead that's initiating the requisition, we have a person from purchasing that helps with the tabulations, et cetera, and depending on whether it's a sealed bid, if it's for qualifications, it really depends on what we're going out for proposal. In this case, I don't know the committee names, we don't usually hold them, those are held in purchasing department's office. But we have anywhere from 2 to 5 committee members. For insurance, we have representatives from pretty much every campus and our department because we ask them to send volunteers. So really depending on what we're going out for and what we're soliciting, it depends, that's what will determine the number of the group. But at minimum, we have 2 people, the purchasing agent and the person in our department initiating the RFP or RFQ. Yes, sir.
So the 15-passenger van, what is the timeline after it's approved by the board for the van actually coming?
Good question. We already have, and I didn't mention this, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't mention this. That is also an item that we can put on skate, so to speak, because we got quotes, and because of the amount, we got quotes through Region 20 co-op member dealerships. So we're pretty much ready, as soon as it's approved at the board meeting, we're pretty much ready to execute. Now it'll be a matter, notice we said up to 55,000, we got a quote that was actually, we have quotes that are actually a little bit less, but our experience has been with some of these vehicles that by the time we go, they're gone. So hopefully we'll get the lowest price, but the variance is $2,000 to $3,000. So as soon as we have it available, or as soon as we get that approved, we'll go ahead and execute the purchase order. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to hand it off to Ms. McCoolist.
Good evening, President Castilla, board, staff. We are going to go over, let me go back. Sorry, I need to go to my slide. Okay, the first agenda item we have is the second reading. So this is the second time we're reading it. We have to bring it up for a second reading, and all there you can see all the policies. And again, these are local policies. Anything that is legal that we got in Update 121 is obviously legal, and we cannot change those. These have gone out in board updates, and we did discuss it at the last board meeting. Are there any questions regarding any of the items? Because it had been discussed at the last board workshop.
Can you just go through one more time, like, some of the things we're striking and some of the things we're adding to do?
Absolutely. I did send that paperwork in the board update. Did you get that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, making sure. Okay, the first one we have is CFB. What it does, it adds on here that the superintendent shall determine the capitalization threshold for a group of assets and individual costs which does not exceed the capitalization threshold above, which is $5,000. The next one is CKE. What they did on that one is they completely removed CKE. They took all of that information and put it over under CKEA. And the one change, or two changes that you're going to see there, what they wanted to do is really streamline the information for the security personnel and peace officers. Let me go to that page. So they moved everything over just to combine that one. But CLB, which is the next, is going on the residential property primarily used as student housing. We do not have student housing here in Edgewood. So again, this is just a local policy. They updated. There are some grammatical things. They added but again, we do not have student housing, so this is just a policy we have. In the event in future, maybe that's an option for Edgewood. The next one we have is CVA. What that does is just take out designee and only leave superintendent on that first line. That is the same for CVE. DEC, which is the compensation and leave. If you go on that one to page 3 of 5, that talks about the peace officers' mental health. In the event that something happens and our officers witness a horrific event and they need to go out on mental health leave, this is going to protect them. The second one is quarantine leave. Say there's an event and they come in contact with a substance that would have them go and have to get checked, whether it's bodily fluids or blood or something of that nature. This is going to protect them from doing that. So we now have that in policy. The next one we have is FD on here. What it does is it takes out some of the wording determine transfer, and it's really grammatical. So ensure including appropriate credit, awarded property, and all subjects. This is for CDF, which is a grade level placement on FFI. This one is the bully prevention. What it says is once this one is approved, that we will have administrative procedures. I do recall telling you all at the last board meeting that Edgewood ISD, throughout my entire time that we have been here, we have never had administrative regulations. So if you think about all the policies that we have, that is a lot of admin regs if we wanted to put one with that, so that will take time. But again, once this one is approved, that is when we can start working on immediately. Any questions on those? Absolutely. If you go onto the website under required postings, we do have the student handbook on there in both English and Spanish. So it does have what the process is, and then it also does link the policy on there. But if you have more in-depth questions, you can definitely ask, and then we can get that information for you.
And what exactly is student housing? Are other school districts having like student housing?
As of right now, no. I can think of like private schools sometimes will offer that, but I don't know of any charter schools or actual public schools that offer that. Is there? Okay.
We're not making that question. So the question was,
Are there any districts that have actual student housing? I'm only aware of the large districts in the state that actually do provide housing because of homeless students that they have an inordinate amount. These are school districts. The only ones that I can recall are Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth ISDs. They actually have a housing center for students. They're the only ones that I know right now.
Thank you. I just learned something new. Any other questions before we go on to the next item? So the next item, which I'm really excited we can finally bring this one to you all, is Board Policy FFA Local. This one had to go through DEEC first. And I am gonna say that I'm super excited because we actually had 5 parents attend, which has been a struggle. Shaq, SHC, sorry, Shaq. So I'm super excited we have been able to actually approve this policy. If, I did send the information over, if you look at it, what it does is it gives us the option. We have a lot of student organizations that like to have bake sales, taco sales, if they're running for something or if they're trying to get money to go to a competition. I know Fine Arts has had some, Memorial, Kennedy, they all have those. What we have to do is they have to make sure they follow guidelines on what they're selling. What this does is it allows them the option of having them before and after school. They still have to go into that guideline, but option 2 is a very stricter policy where option 1 allows us to have a bake sale before school. Come and get some tacos, come and get some cookies so that you can help our organization. So what our parents did on the committee, they went for option 1, which is not as strict. We still have to go by the guidelines, but it's not as strict as option 2. So we are approving that today to allow our organizations to still be able to raise funds on campus in this manner.
So they can do option 1 or option 2?
Right, so the committee was able to vote, and so they took option 1.
So we can strike option 2.
We're gonna strike it out right now, so this is just the draft. Once it gets approved, then it'll go with just the option 1 on there. It'll won't say option 1, but it'll say what it is.
Other categories, what is the reason for the category of is that a student activity or is like the 1, 2, 3, but then it also says
Oh, so other organizations. So say PTA wants to host something, if there's a PTA on campus, or if we have maybe an outside organization, like, what are some of the organizations that come in and they'll provide like snacks for the kids? Like they'll bring, if I'm gonna come and talk to some students in the culinary arts program, but I'm a restaurant, and I'm gonna come in and say, hey, this is the stuff we can provide you, here are some goodies, that is what we're talking about. And after school programs as well.
and then like for implementation, it should the like kind of district official area.
It'll be the child nutrition department.
So that's stuff that's gonna be like fixed. And
It is, because this needed to be approved first, then I'll get the fixed one, and it'll go into the board meeting. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, we already did the question.
Thank you, Ms. McCollum. So, board, and I'm hearing the conversations tonight about not having information. I apologize for that, but here's what I will have the board discuss and decide. As a business office, we run from behind constantly because we're looking at prior month and then the next month, right? So to do our due diligence, especially after the health insurance, these ladies were working to the umpteenth hour because we were trying to bring a different recommendation we could in the interest of the community and the staff really, because health insurance is really outlandish. We didn't have this information put together because we found out and got a lot of the information pretty much a couple of days ago. I was on the phone while we were at the conference with these ladies back here about their recommendations. So we tried really hard to get that. The other option would be that we wait a month, and we can wait another month. So we could have done this, not the health insurance, but there's other things that we can wait a month, but then we constantly be running a month in arrears with the presentations to the board. So I'd rather accelerate that. But if at any point it is not working well to do that, to go through update, then we can certainly course correct. But that would mean that all the information would be a month behind. So just for consideration and for discussion, that's something that we want to explore. We certainly can.
I'll speak a little more. I think that closes us out. I'm gonna put it back in my, Joe, you can put my presentation up. I want to elaborate a little more on what Ms. Martinez just said. So, board, our goal has always been to do our due diligence with regards to the information that we bring to you for evaluation. And I want to be really clear about this. We are always going to do that, and in 5 years, we've always done that in the most professional, polite way. But I'm not going to ask my people to also, because I've talked to all 7 of you, and this is all 7 sitting of you over this last year and in years in the past. The mental health of our folks is important to you. You've all said it to me one way or another. So we're going to bring you the information the best way that we can. Is that right, Dr.? Okay. We're going to bring you the information the best way that we can.
But when we come to these meetings are to provide you the information that we have at the most current time. Although, I want to make this really clear to folks. We over-communicate in our district since we started 5 years ago as a group. And this is going to kind of help me go through this. Before we set this agenda, we set this agenda with the board officers. That is not just done by the superintendent. As in most districts, the SUP and the board president do that. This board president wanted to do this collaboratively with the other board officers. That's been what we've been doing now for, I believe, about a couple of years. Then we have tonight's meetings, the workshop. Now I'm going to come back to this a little more, but this workshop is provided for you so that you are able to read all the exhibits and items that are given to you and prepared by staff so that you can make the best decision possible. But the obligation that we have from the state is all we're asked to provide you, to be clear, is 3 days before a board meeting, we're asked to provide you the link to the board book, and then you would have to make your own decisions by yourself. We don't do that because that's always been the choice, is to overly communicate. And then you're afforded a one-to-one meeting. Whether you take it or not, it is afforded to you. So if you see up here, the dates are between October 6th and the 20th. Those dates will be available. If you will reach out to our board manager, there she goes back there, we can set up those one-to-one meetings, and then I can answer any additional questions that you may have with regards to tonight's meeting. And then, of course, we have our board performance planning meetings. Now, to be fair, these are not always about items that are particular to this month. They may go back as far as 3 or 4 months. That is afforded to you as an additional means of educating you as a trustee of our governing body. For this month, our one meeting is October 20th from 2 to 4, and of course, we'll sign up the 3 board members that are available. I realize some of you go to school, work, and we always want to respect that. And then, of course, you have your board updates. And there's the board updates. You have the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and then our board meeting is on the 24th. And those are your board updates. If you ask us any questions, my practice has always been, all 7 of you get the same answers. And, okay, I don't know why that changed there for us. But that's the regular board meeting, the workshop, and then the regular board meeting for November. Now, board, I do want to be really clear and ask you I'm going to implore you to do a couple of things for me. When you come to our meeting, please be very mindful that the men and women that are preparing these items do so with the utmost respect and professionalism that they're asked to do so. When we speak to one another, we have always been very polite with one another. I'm not particularly happy with what happened tonight. And I want to apologize. If you're a guest tonight, I'm really sorry for you having to be here and for you having to watch that. I'm also going to apologize to my staff because I don't particularly respect when our staff has to sit here and watch these kinds of events happening. We have had a very respectful environment over the last 5 years. I expect us to keep doing that because at the end of the day, remember, we're modeling for the rest of the district to include our students when they're here watching. And I'm going to tell you, I've had conversations with the kids about what they watch. And they too are a little perplexed with what's been happening. But guys, I don't mind it because I've always said this is not about my ego, this is not about me. I will implore all 7 of you to please continue to work in the best way you can and be respectful of the staff. Remember that what you may see as not disrespectful, somebody else might. So please, I'm going to leave that there, but please be very respectful of our staff. Because otherwise, I will ask the staff to put the information down and you will have to make your decision individually. But that's not how we're going to do business moving forward. And I've had this conversation with all 7 of you individually, but this is my stance as the superintendent. At the end of the day, that is something that I expect from everybody. We got to be respectful of each other. We've got too much work going on right now. So, you had a question, sir?
Yes. Well, everything, like even the one-on-ones not last. At the end of the day, there's a board meeting.
Can't hear you.
At the end of the
having a one-on-one meeting with the superintendent, it's really not the end. You know, we do have a board meeting, but it's unfortunate that everything is stuck into the consent agenda, even though it's not normal items, even though the consent agenda is, you know, routine items, but some of the stuff that we are discussing is not routine. So it's unfortunate that the superintendent and school board officers stick everything in the consent agenda. We also have to discuss item 5T. Thank you. 5T.
So this item will be read with the board president. I will work with the board president on gathering all of the board trustees' hours
every year, the month prior to an election month, so we are a November election board, that we don't have one this year. However, every month prior to the election month, the board president does have to read every trustee's hours in public of the regular board meeting, and those hours do stay on the website.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. Okay, Madam President, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you, Mr. Valdez, for that question and your statement as well. I want to address that. Thank you.
The time is now 7:01. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Who second? Mr. Valdez, second. Mr. Guerra, move. Is there any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. This meeting is adjourned. Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.